The Chicago skyline loomed outside the office window, a jagged silhouette against a gray November sky. Inside, the air smelled of burnt coffee and printer toner. The hum of the air conditioner a constant drone, like the pulse of the building itself. Alex Harper, 38, sat at his desk, his fingers hovering over a spreadsheet he'd already checked 3 times. Numbers blurred into meaningless rows, his mind elsewhere. It was a Tuesday, the kind that dragged like a slow train, each hour heavier than the last. His paper cup from Starbucks sat cold on the desk, the latte inside forming a thin skin. Nothing about this day should have been different. Then his phone buzzed, rattling against a stack of folders. The screen lit up. Malik, his older brother. They hadn't spoken in months, not since a brief call on Malik's birthday. Malik lived on Maui, running a luxury resort that catered to honeymooners and tech bros with too much money. Their lives were worlds apart. Alex with his quiet routines in Chicago, Malik with his sun-soaked empire. A random call in the middle of the day wasn't just unusual. It was a warning. Alex answered, his voice low to avoid drawing attention from the open-plan office. "Hey, Mun, what's up?" Malik's tone was too calm, like the hush before a storm. "Joe, Alex, quick question. Where's your wife?" Alex frowned, leaning back in his creaky chair. "Emily? She's in New York. Business trip. Left Sunday." "What?" A pause stretched across the line, long enough to make Alex's stomach twist. "You sure about that?" Malik's voice shifted, no longer casual. There was something heavy in it, something that made the hairs on Alex's neck stand up. "What's going on, Malik?" Alex's grip tightened on the phone, his other hand still clutching the cold coffee cup. Another pause, then a sigh. "I'm standing in the lobby of my resort right now. And I swear, Alex, Emily's here. She just checked in. With some guy." The words hit like a punch to the chest. The office noise, keyboards clacking, muffled chatter, the ding of the elevator, faded to a dull roar. Alex's hand trembled, and coffee sloshed over the rim of the cup, soaking a stack of papers. He didn't notice. "What?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "She's here," Malik repeated, quieter now, as if he hated saying it. "Barefoot, sundress, laughing with this dude who looks like he stepped out of a GQ ad. They booked the honeymoon suite. On your card, Alex." I waved at her, and she waved back, all smiles. Alex's mouth went dry. His heart pounded, a sickening thud against his ribs. "You're sure it's her?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. Emily's face flashed in his mind, her sharp green eyes, the way her blonde hair fell in loose waves, the smile that used to light up rooms. The smile she'd given him just 3 days ago when she kissed his cheek and said, "I'll be back soon, babe." "Positive," Malik said. "I'm looking at her right now, checking in with this guy. I'm sorry, Mun." Alex set the cup down, his movements slow, mechanical. The spreadsheet on his screen stared back, meaningless. His ears rang, and the room felt too small, the air too thick. "She's in New York," he told himself, clinging to the lie she'd fed him. "She's at a conference. She packed her laptop, her blazer. She wouldn't." But the truth was already sinking in, cold and heavy, like water seeping under a locked door. He forced his voice to stay steady. "Don't say anything to her. Don't let her know you called me." "Got it," Malik said. "What do you want me to do?" "Just watch," Alex said, his mind racing. "Tell me what you see. And don't let her suspect anything." "You sure you're okay?" Malik's voice softened, a rare crack in his usual bravado. "No," Alex said honestly, then hung up. He sat there, staring at the phone, his thumb hovering over Emily's contact. 6 years of marriage, countless late nights, shared dreams, sacrifices. He'd paid off her student loans, cheered her on when she launched her startup, held her hand through every setback. And now she was thousands of miles away, in a sundress, laughing with another man, using his money to play house in paradise. How did I miss this? The question clawed at him. Her late nights at the office, her vague texts, the way she'd pull away when he tried to hold her. "I'm just stressed," she'd say, and he believed her. He'd given her space, thinking it was what she needed. Instead, he'd given her room to betray him. Across the office, Layla, his co-worker, glanced over from her desk. Her dark eyes narrowed, catching the pallor on his face. "Alex, you good?" she asked, her voice low, careful not to draw attention from the others. He nodded, but it was a lie. His hands shook as he wiped the spilled coffee with a napkin, smearing ink across the papers. Layla didn't push, but she didn't look away either. She slid a bottle of water across the desk, her expression soft but steady. "Take a breath," she said quietly. "Whatever it is, you're not alone." Her words were simple, but they anchored him, just for a moment. He unscrewed the cap, took a sip, the cold water grounding him against the storm in his chest. Not alone, he repeated to himself, but it felt hollow. Emily was his partner, his home, his everything. And now she was a stranger. He opened his banking app, his fingers moving on autopilot. The transactions loaded, each one a stab. $950 for an ocean view suite, $400 for a couple's massage, $1,500 for a sunset yacht tour. All charged to their joint account, all under his name. His vision blurred, not from tears but from rage, betrayal, disbelief. He wanted to call her, to scream, to demand answers. But he didn't. Not yet. Instead, he texted Malik, "Send me everything you've got. Photos, receipts, anything." Then he leaned back, staring at the ceiling tiles, the fluorescent lights buzzing faintly. "She thinks I'm blind," he thought. "She thinks I'll never know." But he wasn't the fool she'd counted on. He was awake now, and the man waking up wasn't the one she'd married. That man trusted her. This one wouldn't make that mistake again. Layla's voice broke through his thoughts. "Alex, you don't have to tell me what's wrong," she said, leaning closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "But if you need to get out of here, I'll cover for you. Just say the word." He looked at her, her brown eyes steady. No judgment, just quiet strength. For the first time since the call, he felt a flicker of something other than pain, gratitude. "Thanks, Layla," he said, his voice hoarse. "I might take you up on that." She nodded, then went back to her work, giving him space but staying close. Outside, the Chicago wind howled, rattling the windows. Inside, Alex sat in silence, the weight of Emily's betrayal settling into his bones. He didn't know what came next, but he knew one thing. He wasn't going to let her rewrite their story. Not without a fight. The neon sign outside the diner flickered, casting a red glow across the cracked vinyl booth where Alex sat. The air smelled of greasy burgers, fried onions, and the faint tang of spilled beer. Outside, Chicago's evening bustle roared. Car horns, distant sirens, the clatter of a passing L train. Inside, the diner was a pocket of quiet, save for the low hum of a jukebox playing some forgotten Springsteen track. Alex stared at his untouched coffee, the steam long gone, his phone glowing beside it. The screen was open to a photo Malik had sent an hour ago. Emily, barefoot on a Maui beach, her arm around a tall, tan guy in linen shorts. Her smile was wide, unguarded, the kind Alex hadn't seen in months. The guy, Tyler, Malik had said, grinned back, his hand resting casually on her waist. They looked like a couple in a travel ad, not a woman cheating on her husband of 6 years. Alex's fingers tightened around the mug, the ceramic warm against his palms. Each photo Malik sent was a fresh wound. Emily sipping a coconut drink with a pink umbrella, her head tilted back in laughter. Emily and Tyler walking hand in hand by the resort's pool, her sundress fluttering in the breeze. Emily leaning in, kissing Tyler's cheek under a string of tiki lights. And the bank statements. God, the statements. He'd pulled them up on his phone, scrolling through the damage like a detective at a crime scene. $950 for the honeymoon suite. $400 for a couple's massage. $1,500 for a yacht tour. $200 for a romantic beach picnic. All charged to their joint account. All in his name. "How could she do this?" he muttered, his voice barely audible over the diner's hum. Layla, sitting across from him, set down her Coke, her dark eyes soft but steady. "You don't have to hold it in, Alex," she said, her voice low, like she was coaxing a confession. "Whatever's eating you, just let it out." He looked up, meeting her gaze. Layla had been his co-worker for 3 years, always quick with a laugh or a sarcastic quip during late-night projects. But tonight, she was different, quiet, present, like she'd seen this kind of pain before. He hadn't planned to tell her, but the weight of it was crushing him, and the diner's dim light felt safe, like a confessional. "She's cheating," he said finally, the words tasting like ash. "Emily, my wife. She's in Hawaii with some guy, using my money to fund their whatever this is." He slid the phone across the table, the photo of Emily and Tyler glaring up. Layla's jaw tightened as she looked at the screen, but she didn't flinch. Jesus, Alexis. I'm so sorry. She pushed the phone back gently, her fingers brushing his. How'd you find out? Malik, my brother. He runs the resort where they're staying. He saw her check in, called me. Alex's voice cracked, and he cleared his throat, staring at the table. I thought she was in New York. She kissed me goodbye, said it was a work trip. I believed her. Layla leaned forward, her elbows on the table. You trusted her. That's not your fault. Isn't it? He snapped, sharper than he meant. He rubbed his temple, exhaling. I keep replaying everything. Her late nights, her excuses, the way she dodged my questions. I'm stressed, Alex Kropka. Work's crazy. I bought it. I gave her space. And she took it all the way to Maui. Layla didn't interrupt, just listened, her silence an invitation to keep going. And he did, the words spilling out like water from a broken dam. He told her about meeting Emily at a tech conference in Boston, how her confidence and quick wit had drawn him in, how they'd stayed up all night talking over cheap wine, dreaming of a life bigger than their cubicles. He told her about paying for Emily's MBA when her loan fell through, about celebrating her startup's first big client, about the quiet nights in their Lincoln Park house when she'd rest her head on his shoulder and whisper, "You're my rock." And he told her how those moments had faded, how Emily's warmth had turned to distance, her smiles to sighs, her touch to absence. I should have seen it, he said, his voice low, almost to himself. I should have pushed harder, asked more. But I didn't want to be that guy, you know? The paranoid husband who checks her phone. I trusted her. And now, he gestured at the phone, at the photo of Emily's betrayal. Layla shook her head. You're not the one who broke this, Alex. She made a choice. She looked you in the eye, lied, and planned this. That's on her. Her words were a lifeline, but the pain didn't loosen its grip. Alex's mind churned, replaying memories like a broken reel. Their wedding day, Emily in a simple white dress, her voice cracking as she said, forever. Their first apartment, where they'd eaten pizza on the floor because they couldn't afford furniture. The way she'd cried in his arms when her startup nearly folded, and he'd promised, we'll get through this. He meant it, every word, but now those promises felt like lies she'd never believed. Was it me? He wondered, staring at the diner's chipped tabletop. Did I push her away? Or too much? Miss some sign she was unhappy? The questions gnawed at him, each one a fresh cut. He wanted to hate her, to let anger burn away the hurt, but all he felt was a hollow ache, like something vital had been carved out of him. Layla's voice pulled him back. What are you going to do now? He looked up, his jaw tight. I don't know. Part of me wants to fly to Maui, barge into their room, and he trailed off, shaking his head. But that's what she'd expect. She'd cry, spin some story, make me feel like the bad guy for not trusting her. I'm not giving her that. Layla nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. Good. You're smarter than that. Whatever you do, make it count. Not just for her, but for you. Her words stuck, like a seed planted in the chaos of his thoughts. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling, where a fan spun lazily, stirring the warm air. The jukebox switched to a slow Dylan song, the lyrics about love and loss cutting too close. He closed his eyes, letting the noise of the diner, the clink of dishes, the murmur of other patrons, wash over him. For a moment, he could almost pretend he was still the man he'd been yesterday, before Malik's call, before the world tilted. But he wasn't that man anymore. That man had trusted Emily, built a life on her promises. This man was awake, raw, and staring at a truth he couldn't unsee. He opened his eyes, his gaze falling on the phone again. Another message from Malik. She just booked a spa day for two. $600. Wanting to keep digging? Alex typed back, yes. Everything. Then he looked at Layla, who was watching him with quiet resolve. I'm not going to let this break me, he said, more to himself than to her. I know you won't, she replied, her voice firm. You're stronger than you think. He didn't feel strong. He felt like a man standing in the wreckage of his own life, sifting through the pieces. But Layla's belief in him, small as it was, sparked something, a flicker of resolve, a refusal to let Emily's betrayal define him. He paid the bill, left a tip, and stepped out into the Chicago night, the wind biting at his face. The city lights glittered, indifferent to his pain. But for the first time since the call, he felt a shift. The hurt was still there, sharp and deep, but beneath it, something else was growing. Not anger, not yet. Clarity. He walked home, the cold air clearing his head. Their Lincoln Park house loomed ahead, its windows dark. He stood on the porch, staring at the door, remembering Emily's laugh, her touch, the life they'd built. It was all a lie now, or maybe it always had been. He didn't know which hurt more. But as he turned the key, one thought burned clear. She thinks I'm blind. She's wrong. Tomorrow, he'd start fighting back, not with screams or fists, but with the truth. And the truth, he was learning, was sharper than any knife. The Chicago morning was raw, the kind of cold that seeped into your bones and made the city feel like a steel cage. Alex sat at his kitchen island, the Lincoln Park house silent except for the faint drip of the coffee maker. The granite countertop was littered with papers, bank statements, screenshots of Malik's texts, a notepad scrawled with dates and dollar amounts. His laptop glowed, open to a spreadsheet he'd started at 3 a.m., each row a piece of Emily's betrayal. $950 for the Maui suite, $600 for a spa day, $1,500 for a yacht tour. The numbers stared back, cold and unyielding, like evidence in a trial. Outside, the wind rattled the windows, and the bare branches of the oak in the backyard clawed at the gray sky. It was the kind of day that made you want to stay inside, but Alex wasn't hiding anymore. His phone buzzed, Malik's name flashing. Alex answered, his voice steady despite the sleepless night. "What's new?" "She's still playing the part," Malik said, his tone a mix of disgust and amusement. "Just saw her and this Tyler guy at the pool bar. She's got a mimosa. He's got his arm around her. They're laughing like they own the place. Booked a snorkeling tour for tomorrow, by the way. Another $800 on your card." Alex's jaw tightened, but he didn't flinch. "Keep watching," he said. "Send me everything. Photos, receipts, whatever you've got." "You sure you're handling this?" Malik asked, his voice softening. "I can confront her, you know. Tell her to cut the crap." "No," Alex said sharply. "She doesn't get to twist this into a story about me invading her privacy. Let her think she's untouchable. For now." Malik chuckled, a low, approving sound. "You're colder than I thought, bro. I like it." Alex didn't smile. Cold wasn't the right word. He wasn't angry anymore, not in the way that made you want to scream or break things. The rage had hardened into something sharper, more precise, like a blade he was learning to wield. He hung up and turned back to his spreadsheet, adding the snorkeling charge to the list. Each entry was a brick in the case he was building, not just against Emily, but for himself, for the life she'd try to steal. "She thinks I'm blind," he thought, his fingers pausing over the keyboard. "She thinks I'll sit here, clueless, while she plays house with some wannabe model." The thought stung, but it also fueled him. Emily had underestimated him, and that was her mistake. He wasn't the man who'd trusted her blindly, who'd ignored the late nights and vague excuses. That man was gone, replaced by someone who saw patterns, who planned, who refused to be played. He opened his email, where a message from Tess, the lawyer Malik had connected him with, waited. "I've reviewed the documents you sent," she wrote. "The bank statements, reservation confirmations, and photos give us a strong case for financial misconduct. If you want to pursue a claim for fraudulent use of joint funds, we can file in Hawaii or Illinois. Let me know how you want to proceed." Attached was a draft of a divorce petition, the words stark and final: dissolution of marriage. Financial fraud. Emotional distress. Seeing it in black and white made his chest tighten, not with pain, but with clarity. This wasn't just about heartbreak. It was about justice. He called Tess, her voice crisp and professional when she answered. "Alex, good to hear from you. You've had time to think." "Yeah," he said, leaning against the counter. "I want to move forward. File the claim in Hawaii. I want her served while she's still there." Tess didn't miss a beat. "Bold move. It's doable. We'll need all the evidence, statements, photos, videos. Malik's footage from the resort will help. You're sure you want to go this public?" "She made it public when she used my name to book her fling," Alex said, his voice low. "I'm just finishing what she started." Tess laughed, a sharp, approving sound. "I like your style. I'll start drafting. Send me anything new you get." He hung up and texted Kate, a friend from his startup days who'd gone into cybersecurity. She'd always been the one who could find anything: emails, deleted texts, even GPS data from apps people forgot they'd installed. "Can you track transactions in real time?" He'd asked her last night. Her reply had been instant. "Give me access to the account, and I'll build you a live feed. Every dollar, every location." Now, her latest message waited. "Tracker's up. Check the link. She just spent $250 at a boutique. Gift-wrapped item. Receipt scanned. Alex clicked the link, and a Google sheet loaded, color-coded, and time-stamped. The boutique purchase was highlighted in red, with a note, jewelry set, men's bracelet, signed by Emily Harper. His stomach churned. She bought Tyler a gift, wrapped it in a bow, paid for it with his money. The audacity of it, the shamelessness, lit a fire in him. Not rage, but resolve. He forwarded the sheet to Tess, adding, more evidence. Keep building. The house felt too quiet, the walls too close. He stood, pacing to the living room, where a framed photo of him and Emily sat on the mantel. Their wedding day, her in a white dress, him in a navy suit, both smiling like the world was theirs. He remembered her voice, trembling as she said, I choose you, always. Always, he thought bitterly, picking up the frame, until a better option came along. He set it face down, not ready to throw it out, but unwilling to let it watch him. What did I miss? The question haunted him, circling like a vulture. Had she been unhappy for years, or was this a sudden whim? Had he worked too much, buried himself in spreadsheets while she drifted? Or was she always this person, waiting for a chance to show it? The uncertainty gnawed at him, but he pushed it aside. Doubt wouldn't help him now. Action would. His phone rang again, Emily. Her name on the screen was a jolt, like seeing a ghost. He let it ring, his pulse quickening. She called again, then texted, Hey, just checking in. Word's crazy, but I miss you. Call me? The lie was so smooth, so practiced, it almost made him laugh. He imagined her typing it, maybe sitting next to Tyler, her fingers brushing his as she played the devoted wife. He didn't respond. Let her wonder. Let her squirm. Layla's text came next. You at the office today? Worried about you. He'd taken the day off, unable to face the fluorescent lights and small talk. He replied, home, figuring things out. Thanks for checking. Her response was quick. I'm here if you need me. You got this. Her faith in him, steady and unasked for, was a lifeline. He didn't know how to thank her, so he didn't try. Not yet. He sat back at the island, staring at the spreadsheet. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about control, about reclaiming the life Emily had tried to rewrite. He wasn't going to storm Maui, fists clenched, demanding answers. That was too easy, too expected. Instead, he'd dismantle her fantasy piece by piece, with facts, with proof, with the kind of precision she'd never seen coming. He texted Malik, Can you get me video footage? Discreet. Pool bar, lobby, anything clear. Malik's reply was instant. Already on it. You're scaring me a little, man. Alex almost smiled. Good, he thought. Let her be scared, too. He poured another coffee, the bitter smell grounding him. The wind outside howled, but inside the storm was quieter now, focused. He wasn't the man who'd trusted Emily's lies. He was the man who'd seen through them, and he was just getting started. The Maui air was heavy with salt and hibiscus, a warm breeze carrying the rhythmic crash of waves against the shore. Alex stood on the balcony of a modest hotel in Lahaina, his hands gripping the railing, the ocean stretching endlessly before him. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of coral and gold, but the beauty fell hollow, like a postcard from someone else's life. Below, tourists laughed, their voices mingling with ukulele music from a nearby bar. Alex's phone sat silent on the glass table behind him, its screen dark but heavy with the weight of what he'd done. He hadn't come to Maui for a showdown, not for tears or shouted accusations. He'd come to end Emily's fantasy on his terms, with precision, not chaos. It had taken 2 days to get here, 2 days of planning, of steeling himself against the pain that still clawed at his chest. Malik had been his eyes, sending updates. Emily and Tyler at the resort's luau, her hair braided with flowers, his hand on her thigh. Emily signing for a $1,200 dinner, her signature bold on the receipt. Emily laughing as she tossed a beach ball in the pool, oblivious to the world she'd left behind. Each image, each detail, was a nail in the coffin of their marriage. Alex didn't flinch anymore. The hurt was still there, but it had hardened into resolve, a quiet fire that burned without consuming him. He'd flown out yesterday, booking a room far from Malik's resort to avoid detection. The plan was simple, surgical. No confrontations, no scenes. He'd hired a local contact through Tess, a discreet courier named Kai, who worked with the resort staff. Kai had swapped Emily's credit card for a dummy during a staged issue at the front desk, a move Malik orchestrated with the precision of a heist. When Emily tried to use it at a boutique, it declined, her confusion caught on the shop's security feed. Malik sent the clip, Emily's smile faltering, her voice sharp as she argued with the cashier, Tyler shifting awkwardly beside her. Alex hadn't smiled, but he'd felt a flicker of satisfaction. Her perfect escape was unraveling, and she didn't even know why. This morning, Kai had delivered the final blow. A manila envelope slipped under the door of Emily's suite while she and Tyler were at breakfast. Inside, a stack of photos, her kissing Tyler under tiki lights, her hand in his at the pool, her signature on receipts for their lavish getaway. A single note, typed and unsigned. Smile. Your vacation's over. And, clipped to the top, the first page of Tessa's divorce petition, stamped with a Hawaii court seal. Alexander Harper versus Emily Harper. Financial fraud. Dissolution of marriage. Alex had instructed Kai to leave no trace, to vanish before Emily returned. Malik confirmed delivery an hour ago. She's back in the room. Looks shaken. Tyler's pacing. They're fighting. Alex's phone buzzed now, Emily's name flashing. He let it ring, the sound swallowed by the ocean's roar. She called again, then texted, Alex, we need to talk. Please pick up. It's not what you think. The words were a punch, not because they hurt, but because they were so predictable. He could picture her, eyes wide, voice trembling, spinning a story to salvage her crumbling world. He didn't answer. Let her stew. Let her feel the walls closing in. He stepped inside, the room cool and dim, and opened his laptop. Kate's tracker was still live, a blinking dot showing Emily's last purchase attempt. Another boutique, another decline. Tess had emailed. Papers are filed. She'll be served officially tomorrow. Kai's envelope was just a warning shot. You sure you want to stay in Maui for this? Alex replied, I need to see it through. Not for her. For me. He closed the laptop and leaned back, the wicker chair creaking under him. The plan was working, but it didn't feel like victory. Not yet. His mind drifted to the last time he'd seen Emily, 3 days before her business trip. She'd been packing, her suitcase open on their bed, her movements brisk. New York's going to be intense, she'd said, folding a blazer. Back-to-back meetings. He'd offered to drive her to O'Hare, but she'd waved him off. I've got an Uber. You got enough on your plate. She'd kissed his cheek, her lips cool, and smiled. Love you. He believed her. That memory, once warm, was now a blade, twisting with every lie it carried. Another text from Emily. Please, Alex. I can explain. Call me. He stared at the words, his thumb hovering over the screen. Part of him, the part that still remembered her laugh, her touch, wanted to hear her voice, to give her a chance to make it right. But that part was fading, drowned out by the man he was becoming. He typed a single word, no, and hit send, then blocked her number. The finality of it was a weight lifted, a door closed. Malik called, his voice low. She's freaking out, man. Saw her in the lobby, arguing with Tyler. She tried to book a flight, but her card's still dead. She's stuck. Good. Alex said, his voice flat. Let her feel it. You okay? Malik asked, the question careful like he was testing thin ice. Alex didn't answer right away. He stepped back to the balcony, the ocean's rhythm steadying him. I will be, he said finally. Thanks for everything, Malik. Anytime, bro. You're playing this like a pro. Alex hung up and leaned against the railing, the salt air sharp in his lungs. The sun was gone now, the sky a deep indigo, stars pricking through. He thought of Layla, her quiet strength in the diner, her text this morning. You're tougher than this. Don't forget it. He thought of Tess, her sharp professionalism, and Kate, her relentless precision. They were his team, his anchors, pulling him through the wreckage Emily had left. His phone buzzed again, a video from Malik. Emily in the resort lobby, her face pale, eyes red. She was on the phone, her voice sharp, panicked. No, you don't understand. The card should work. Tyler stood nearby, arms crossed, his charm replaced by irritation. The clip ended, and Alex felt nothing. Not anger, not pity, just a strange, quiet calm. He walked to the edge of the balcony, the waves louder now, their crash a steady pulse. Emily's world was collapsing, and he'd orchestrated it, not with screams or fists, but with proof, with patience, with the truth she thought she could bury. She'd see the divorce papers tomorrow, served by a court officer in front of Tyler, in front of the resort staff she'd charmed. She'd know then that Alex wasn't the fool she'd counted on. You thought you could rewrite me, he thought, staring at the dark water. But this is my story now. The pain was still there, a dull ache in his chest, but it was no longer a cage. It was fuel. He turned back to the room, the lights of Lahaina twinkling below. Tomorrow, Emily would face the consequences. Tonight, Alex stood alone, but not broken. He was rewriting his ending, and for the first time in weeks, he felt free. The Chicago courtroom was a study in muted grays, gray walls, gray carpet, gray light filtering through tall windows that overlooked a restless Lake Michigan. Alex sat in the front row, his hands folded, his navy suit crisp but unassuming. The air smelled of polished wood and stale coffee. The hum of the HVAC, a faint backdrop to the judge's voice. Across the room, Emily sat beside her lawyer, her head bowed, her blonde hair pulled into a tight bun. She wore a black blazer, her face pale, eyes fixed on the table. Tyler was nowhere in sight, his absence a silent admission of his irrelevance. The divorce hearing had lasted less than an hour, but each minute felt like a stone laid on the grave of their marriage. Judge Eleanor Vance, a woman with silver hair and a no-nonsense gaze, flipped through Tessa's meticulously prepared binder. Bank statements, photos, receipts, Kate's transaction logs, Malik's videos. The evidence is clear, she said, her voice cutting through the room's stillness. Ms. Harper's use of joint funds for personal gain, without consent, constitutes financial fraud. Her actions show a deliberate breach of trust. Emily's lawyer, a nervous man in a cheap suit, mumbled about emotional distress and marital strain, but Vance silenced him with a raised hand. Distress does not justify deception, Mr. Coleman. This is a court, not a therapy session. Alex's chest tightened, not with pain, but with a strange relief. Tess had warned him the judge was tough, but fair. Now, watching Vance dismantle Emily's defense, he felt the weight of the last week's lift piece by piece. The ruling came swiftly. The Lincoln Park house, the joint accounts, the investments, all awarded to Alex. Emily's stake in her startup, partially funded by him, was ordered sold, with proceeds split in his favor. She'd leave with nothing but her clothes and a $10,000 settlement, a fraction of what she'd spent in Maui. Justice, Vance said, is about accountability. The gavel fell, and it was over. Emily didn't look at him as she left, her steps quick, her lawyer trailing. Alex stayed seated, staring at the empty bench, the finality sinking in. He'd won, but it wasn't triumph he felt. It was freedom, not from Emily, but from the man he'd been, the one who'd trusted her blindly, who'd let love blur the truth. That man was gone, buried somewhere between a spilled coffee cup and a Maui balcony. Outside, the wind off Lake Michigan was sharp, tugging at his coat as he walked to his new apartment in the Loop. The high-rise was modest, a one-bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the city's jagged skyline. He'd sold the Lincoln Park house last week, the memories too heavy to keep. The new place was clean, unburdened, its bare walls a canvas for whatever came next. Max, his lanky Labrador, greeted him at the door, tail thumping, a chewed tennis ball in his mouth. Alex knelt, scratching Max's ears, the dog's warmth grounding him. "Good boy," he murmured, and Max barked, oblivious to the weight of the day. He poured a glass of bourbon, the amber liquid catching the light, and stood by the window, watching the lake churn under a bruised sky. The courtroom faded, replaced by fragments of the last month. Emily's panicked texts after Kai's envelope, her voice cracking in a voicemail he deleted unheard, Malik's grin when he'd wired him a bonus for his help, Tessa's firm handshake after the ruling, her quiet, "You did good, Alex." And Layla, always Layla, her steady presence a constant through the storm. She texted this morning, "Court today, right? You got this. Drinks later?" He'd smiled, typing back, "Yeah. 7 at the gauge. Bring your A-game." The memory of their diner nights surfaced, her dark eyes, her quiet, "You're stronger than you think." She'd been right. He'd carried that strength through every step, from the spreadsheet in his kitchen to the balcony in Lahaina. It wasn't just about exposing Emily's lies. It was about reclaiming himself, piece by piece. He wasn't the broken man she'd left behind. He was someone new, forged in the fire of her betrayal. His phone buzzed, a photo from Layla, her and Max from last week's walk along the lakefront. Max was mid-leap, chasing a seagull, while Layla laughed, her hair wild in the wind. "This guy's a star," she captioned it. Alex smiled, the warmth spreading in his chest. Layla wasn't a replacement for Emily, wasn't a rebound or a savior. She was a friend, a mirror, someone who saw him clearly when he couldn't see himself. Maybe that was enough for now. He stepped onto his balcony. The cities hum below, a steady pulse. The lake stretched to the horizon, its waves carrying the last of the day's light. He thought of Emily, not with anger, but with a quiet understanding. She'd wanted freedom, or excitement, or something she couldn't name. She'd chosen lies to chase it, and now she'd face the fallout alone. He didn't know where she was, didn't care. She was a chapter closed, a ghost he'd stopped chasing. The bourbon burned his throat, warm and sharp. He remembered their first apartment, eating pizza on the floor, dreaming of a future that never came. He remembered her vows, her tears when her startup faltered, the way she'd clung to him. Those moments were real once, but they weren't his anymore. They belonged to a past he'd outgrown. "I didn't break," he thought, the wind cool against his face. "I rebuilt." Max nosed the balcony door, whining for attention. Alex laughed, setting down his glass. "All right, buddy, let's go." He grabbed the leash, and they headed out, the city alive around them. Lights flickering, voices calling, the L train rattling in the distance. The air smelled of lake water and possibility, and for the first time in months, Alex felt light, unmoored but not lost. Later, at the gauge, Layla would be waiting, her sarcasm sharp, her laugh easy. They'd talk about nothing, Max's antics, bad movies, the Cubs' latest loss, and it would be enough. Tomorrow, he'd go back to work, face the spreadsheets, the office hum, the life he was building alone. But tonight, he walked with Max, the lakefront path stretching ahead, the city's pulse syncing with his own. He wasn't whole yet, but he was healing. He wasn't defined by Emily's betrayal. He was defined by what he chose next. The lake glittered under the stars, its waves a quiet promise. Alex paused, letting Max sniff a patch of grass, and looked out at the water. "This is mine," he thought. "My story. My beginning." The wind carried the thought away, and he walked on, one step at a time, into a future he'd write himself.